lost the first game, won the next two. I don't know how you technically spin that. I mean, if it's a series, she won it, but she lost the first game, as she lamented. But nonetheless, she gets out there and gets on the broadcast and speaks on a myriad of issues, but she's funny. Obviously, Caitlin Clark has a good sense of humor. We've seen that over the years, and she pointed out one of the most notable things on the broadcast, which is the height disparity between her and Reggie Miller and Carmelo Anthony on the broadcast, which was the height disparity between her and the NBA players on set. I'm going to wear stilts next time you see her there with Carmelo and Reggie Miller. And that's with Reggie Miller saying he's the third best shooter in the state of Indiana right now.
24 hours. That's all it took. One day, Caitlin Clark was just another rookie trying to survive the grind of a long season. The next day, she was gone. Not injured, not traded, not suspended, just gone. And the strangest part wasn't the disappearance itself, it was the silence. Phones stopped getting answered. Interviews were suddenly canceled. Press staff had nothing to say. And when an entire league goes quiet like that, it only means one thing. Something big happened behind the scenes. Because stars don't vanish overnight unless someone with real power made a move. And it all started the way the most dangerous stories always do. Not with breaking news, not with a viral tweet, but with one quiet phone call late at night. A producer from NBC Sports reaching out, not for a feature, not for a quick guest cameo, but for something much bigger. A permanent seat, primetime NBA coverage, national television, millions watching. The kind of stage most players spend their entire careers hoping to even glimpse. And somehow, they didn't call a legend. They didn't call a retired superstar. They didn't call a coach. They called Caitlin Clark a rookie. Think about that for a second. A first-year player, barely months into the league, and one of the biggest networks in America looked at her and said, "We want her."
We'll have to get Tyrese's opinion on that. I'm not sure Tyrese would agree.
So there you go. Caitlin talking about that, poking fun at the appearance. That was one of the first things that stood out. Then there is the important question, which came later in the broadcast about the CBA. And one thing you have to like about it is Caitlin Clark was confident in her answer about that going into this make or break meeting on Monday.
The biggest moments the WNBA has ever seen. Looking forward into the future, what would you like to see happen as you come to a negotiation?
Well, honestly, I don't think it's just a big moment for the WNBA. I think all of women's sports, I think this is one of the biggest moments we've ever had. So, I feel very confident that we're going to get something done. And that's because we're in this moment because of the product we put on the floor. So we need to be able to continue to do that. And I know everybody's working really hard. There's a meeting tomorrow that's super important. And I truly do believe we're going to get something done here in the next couple of weeks.
Not the league. That isn't just hype anymore. That's leverage. And leverage changes everything. Because here's what fans never really see. Behind the smiles, the interviews, and the polished press conferences, leagues survive on one thing: control. Control of the schedule. Control of the spotlight. Control of who becomes a star and who stays in the background. But the moment a network bypasses the system and reaches out to a player directly, that control starts to fracture. And fractures make executives nervous. Inside WNBA offices, insiders say the reaction wasn't celebration. It wasn't pride. It was silence, the heavy, uncomfortable kind, where nobody knows what to say because everyone is thinking the exact same thing. How did we lose grip on this? For years, the formula was clear. If you wanted attention, you went through the league. If you wanted media opportunities, you went through the league. If you wanted a bigger platform, you waited your turn. But Caitlin didn't wait. She didn't follow the script. She stepped right past the line. And when someone skips the line, people get angry, especially the ones who've been standing there for years, especially the veterans who feel like they built this league brick by brick. They noticed the shift first. Reporters who once crowded their lockers weren't there anymore. Suddenly, those same reporters were camped outside one door, waiting for one person.
game right now or the game in general. So we said, let's have a bigger conversation. And it's just so crazy that it feels like every other sport will just come out and say what it is besides the WNBA. The NBA is not scared to acknowledge that there's no more iconic figure in basketball. Not just the women's game, but possibly the game in general than Caitlin Clark. But we would not hear that in the WNBA space. We wouldn't hear that from WNBA media, but the NBA media and the NBA and the league itself is not scared to say it. Like we've seen it when Caitlin does golf events. It just seems like every league.
Clark's sponsors weren't asking about the teams anymore. They weren't focused on the league schedule. They wanted to know her schedule. TV networks weren't selling matchups. They were selling her appearances. And slowly, it stopped feeling like a league-wide product and started feeling like the Caitlin Clark show. That's the moment jealousy creeps in, not with screaming headlines, but with quiet side comments, little jokes, passive remarks like, she's everywhere lately, or, they're pushing her too much, or, let's see how long this lasts. But the numbers didn't care about anyone's feelings. The arenas were packed when she played. When she didn't, the energy dropped immediately. Ratings surged when she showed up and slid back down when she wasn't there. That isn't just popularity, that's dependency. And dependency is the most frightening thing an organization can face, because when fans attach themselves to one person more than the logo starts losing control. Then came the real twist. ESPN had the first opportunity. Talks happened, meetings happened, discussions were underway, but they hesitated. They evaluated. They waited. The classic corporate mistake. And while they stalled, NBC moved fast. Decisive, aggressive, no second-guessing. One deal, one signature, finished. And suddenly ESPN wasn't shaping the story anymore. They were chasing it. And in business, the worst pain isn't losing outright. It's realizing you missed your moment.
We have to talk to Adam about that.
Can we make it mellow? Honestly, if there's someone
even if it's a preseason game, we got to get it done. I don't think the Liberty will want to move a game over here, but we'll play anybody. That'll be fun.
Yeah. How could you describe maybe the atmosphere your first time in it?
Well, I think as a player, like this is kind of when you feel the atmosphere the most is when you're out on the court warming up. So, I mean, there's just a different type of buzz. And obviously when LeBron comes to town, it's probably really different. But, you know, Knicks fans are crazy and I love it. I love people that are passionate about basketball. So it's pretty incredible.
So, you know, Caitlin Clark saying she wants a fever game at Madison Square Garden. That would be nice, right? That would be an event. But I think Fever fans just want to see Caitlin Clark in a game, period. They just want to see a WNBA season. They just want to see her back on the floor healthy. It doesn't matter what arena it is, what venue, home, road. The biggest thing is Caitlin Clark being back playing basketball and healthy. But, you know, her crack there...
Because missing means you had the opportunity right in front of you and still let it slip away. And insiders say the second NBC announced her name behind closed doors, everything changed. The mood shifted instantly. Producers weren't just relieved, they were celebrating. Marketing teams weren't just hopeful, they were energized because they understood something the league didn't want to say out loud. Caitlin Clark wasn't simply a player anymore. She was attention. And attention is money, real money, millions of dollars worth. So when she stepped into that studio for the first time, with cameras rolling and lights blazing, she didn't look overwhelmed. She looked steady. She looked like she belonged. She started breaking down NBA plays, pointing out defensive rotations, speaking to veterans like she was on their level, not like a rookie guest, but like a voice with authority. And viewers felt it instantly. The clips spread everywhere. Her segments went viral, not because she hit a deep three, but because she was just talking basketball. Millions of people watching a rookie analyze the game. That's when the league realized something uncomfortable. She wasn't rising inside their system anymore. She was rising outside of it. And growth outside the system is impossible to control. Because when the spotlight follows you, you don't need permission. You don't need approval. You don't even need protection. You have options. And players with options don't beg.
He makes it look pretty easy, but I can promise you it's not that easy.
Yeah, he is coming off a triple-double. You got that right. And
So, that's funny because the reason I said it could make some people mad, Stephanie White had notably on a broadcast talked about how I think it was when Luka was back on the Mavericks, they in a way played, faster and more together, or the ball popped more. And I think that's what it was. The ball moved more without Luka out there. So Clark referencing Luka with some of the stuff around her and Stephanie White, and the butting heads narratives from last year will be amusing. But, again, Caitlin Clark just playing basketball is
They choose. That's a seismic shift because suddenly negotiations feel different. Contracts feel different. Power feels different. Now imagine you're an owner. You publicly claim, we don't need one player. Then that same player shows up on national NBA television, pulling bigger numbers than your own games. That's not just awkward, it's embarrassing. Fans notice. They talk. Wait, if she's this big, why did they downplay her? Why act like she wasn't important? Suddenly, the narrative flips. It's not she needs the league, it's the league that needs her. And once that idea spreads, it's uncontrollable. Players notice too. One of the most surprising voices? Sophie Cunningham. People expected shade, rivalry, ego. Instead, she praised Clark, said she deserved it, said it was good for women's basketball. That praise hit harder than any criticism could. When even competitors admit it, the debate is over. It's real. Locker rooms shifted. Fewer jokes, more tension. Deep down, everyone knew the truth. Caitlin Clark isn't just another star. She's something bigger, something rare, something leagues can't manufacture, a cultural moment. These moments show up once a decade. When they happen, you either build around them, or you get left behind. And right now, every time NBC put her on screen, it felt bigger than anything else happening.
But I think in a good way, you have to be stronger. It's a much more physical league. So I think that, and then obviously I only appeared in 13 games last year. So more than anything, I'm just itching to get back out on the court and kind of feel like myself again. And I've been putting in a lot of hard work, and I got USA basketball coming up. So looking forward to that too.
yeah, I was happy to see.
Yes, sir, Reg.
Reggie Miller, a big Fever fan. And obviously, I think Caitlin Clark fans had to be satisfied with that. Anybody, had to be impressed with her chops in her debut broadcast, and a bevy of topics there. The important one, a little lighthearted stuff. And overall, I think
each opportunity bigger than the last. At some point, the question stops being, will Caitlin Clark stay? And becomes, can the league keep up? That's the moment every executive secretly fears, because when the player becomes bigger than the platform loses control forever. Maybe that's why the silence that night felt so heavy. Not celebration, not pride, just quiet. Deep down, everyone understood this wasn't just a signing, a TV deal, or media coverage. This was the moment Caitlin Clark stepped beyond the league's reach. And once someone steps beyond your reach, you don't own the future anymore. They do. And if this is only year one, nobody's ready for what year two will look like. Bigger lights, bigger audience, bigger reach. Meanwhile, regular games quietly returned to normal numbers, and that contrast stung because it exposed a stark truth. She wasn't following the league's growth anymore. The league was following hers. That's when control officially vanished. No announcements, no speeches, just a quiet realization spreading through offices and locker rooms. We can't contain her. We can't schedule her. We can't define her. She's moving on her own terms. And when a player moves like that, history shows one thing. They're not just a star, they're a force. Forces don't ask. Forces change everything around them. This wasn't the peak, it was just the beginning. If one NBC contract shook the system this much, imagine what happens when the next door opens. More networks, more platforms, more opportunities.